June Lee stood at the window of her small office, looking out at the stars. She was tired. Being the only human in the Galactic Senate was hard work. 3 years ago, no one in the galaxy thought humans would ever get a seat here. Now she represented all of Earth and its few colonies. "Diplomat Lee, your meeting starts in 10 minutes, said Hyun, her assistant. Hyun was younger than June by 5 years and always eager to help. "Thank you, Hyun. Did you get those trade reports I asked for?" June turned away from the window. "Yes, and I found something strange." Hyun placed a tablet on the desk. "These numbers don't match what the Dominion reported last month." June looked at the data and frowned. This was the third time she had caught such a difference. The Stellar Dominion, the most powerful group in the Senate, kept changing their reports. She was sure they were hiding something. The Stellar Dominion controlled over 50 star systems. Their leader, Emperor Taiho Kim, came from a race of tall, strong aliens who had ruled the galaxy for hundreds of years. Humans were new and had only one planet and 3 small colonies. Most aliens thought humans were too wild and dangerous to be in the Senate at all. "We only got our seat because we beat the Korath ships when they attacked Earth," June often reminded herself. No one had expected humans to win that battle. It had surprised the whole galaxy. "We should go," said Hyun, checking the time. "You don't want to be late for the trade committee." They walked through the huge Senate building. Aliens of all kinds moved around them. Some had 6 legs, others had wings, and many had skin in colors humans had never seen before. June had gotten used to them, but she still missed Earth. In the meeting room, June took her seat at the small table for minor representatives. Emperor Taiho sat at the head of the main table. He was almost 3 meters tall with golden scales and eyes that seemed to look through her. His family had ruled the Dominion for 12 generations. "We will now discuss the mining rights in Sector 47, said the committee leader. June sat up straight. Sector 47 included parts of Earth's solar system. No one had told her about any mining there. "The Dominion has already begun operations," Emperor Taiho said in his deep voice. "The minerals there will benefit many worlds." June raised her hand, but the committee leader ignored her. This was normal. The big powers often acted like smaller worlds didn't matter. After the meeting, she tried to talk to Emperor Taiho. "Your Majesty, there seems to be some mistake. You've started mining in our system without Earth's permission." The Emperor looked down at her. "Diplomat Lee, the Senate approved these operations 3 months ago. But Earth never agreed to this. We weren't even told about it." The Emperor's face showed no emotion. "Perhaps your government missed the notice. It was properly filed." "I check all notices," June said firmly. "This was never sent to us. Then there must have been an error. I will have someone look into it." With that, he walked away. June knew there was no error. The Dominion was stealing from Earth's system and using the Senate's complex rules to hide it. Over the next few weeks, June filed complaints and gathered evidence. But each time she submitted documents, they disappeared from the Senate records. When she found allies among the smaller worlds, they would suddenly back away after receiving messages from the Dominion. "They're threatening anyone who helps us," she told Hyun as they worked late one night. "And I can't prove it." "I found something that might help," Hyun said. "Look at these shipping records. They show Dominion ships taking minerals from the asteroid belt in our system for over a year, not just 3 months. June looked at the data. "This is exactly what we need. Where did you get this?" "I have a friend who works in the Transport Authority," Hyun said with a small smile. "He owed me a favor." The next day, Hyun left early to meet his contact again. "I'll be back before your afternoon meeting," he promised. But Hyun never returned. That evening, June received a call. There had been an accident. Hyun had fallen from a high walkway in the transportation sector. He was dead. The official report called it a tragic accident. Hyun had simply slipped and fallen. But June knew better. The area where he died was near the records office, and the security cameras had mysteriously stopped working just before his fall. At Hyun's funeral 3 days later, June stood alone. None of her so-called allies in the Senate had come. They were all too afraid of the Dominion. As she watched, Hyun's body being prepared for return to Earth, June made a decision. Playing by the Senate's rules had failed. The Dominion had stolen from Earth, threatened their friends, and now they had killed Hyun. The next morning, Emperor Taiho was scheduled to give a big speech to the Senate. He would talk about peace and cooperation while continuing to bully and steal from weaker worlds. June put on her formal diplomatic uniform. In her pocket, she placed the data chip with all the evidence Hyun had collected. "They think humans are dangerous and unpredictable," she whispered to herself as she headed to the Senate chamber. "Maybe it's time to show them why." The Great Senate Hall was filled with representatives from hundreds of worlds. Emperor Taiho stood at the main podium, his golden scales shining under the lights. He looked powerful and untouchable as he began to speak about the bright future of the galaxy under the Dominion's guidance. June sat in her seat, feeling the anger build inside her with each of the Emperor's pretty lies. She thought of Earth being robbed, of their allies being threatened, and of Hyun's broken body. She knew what she had to do. It would likely end her career and possibly start a war. But someone had to stand up to the Dominion, and humans had always been good at doing the impossible. Slowly, June stood up. All around her, other representatives turned to stare. No one ever interrupted when the Emperor was speaking. It simply wasn't done. But June Lee was about to do something that had never been done before in the history of the Galactic Senate. The Senate chamber was huge. Thousands of seats rose in circles around the central speaking area. Lights from the ceiling shone down on Emperor Taiho as he spoke. His golden scales reflected the light, making him look even more powerful. June stood up from her seat in the back area where minor representatives sat. Around her, other aliens turned to stare. No one interrupted the Emperor when he was speaking. It was against all the rules. "And so we must continue to work together for peace," Emperor Taiho was saying. His deep voice filled the room. "The Stellar Dominion has always protected the smaller worlds." June began walking down the steps toward the center floor. Now more. Aliens were noticing her. Some made surprised sounds. Others whispered to each other. A few recorded her with their devices. "The mining operations in sectors 46 through 49 will bring great wealth to all," the Emperor continued. He hadn't noticed June yet. "We will share these resources fairly as we always have." June reached the main floor. This area was forbidden to minor representatives. Only the leaders of major powers could walk here. Breaking this rule could get her removed from the Senate forever. She didn't care anymore. "Emperor Taiho speaks of sharing," June said loudly. Her voice wasn't as deep as the Emperor's, but anger made it carry across the chamber. "But the Dominion takes what it wants and shares nothing." The Emperor stopped speaking. He turned to look at June with surprise and anger in his yellow eyes. "Remove this person," he ordered his guards. 4 tall aliens in shining armor moved toward June. They were from the same species as the Emperor, each nearly 3 meters tall. Next to them, June looked very small, but humans had grown up on a planet with stronger gravity than most alien worlds. Earth had made humans strong, and June was very angry. When the first guard reached for her arm, June moved quickly. She stepped to the side and pushed the guard's arm away. The guard fell off balance, surprised by her strength. The second guard tried to grab her from behind. June ducked under his arms and kept walking toward the Emperor. "You steal from Earth's solar system," she shouted. "You threaten our allies, and you killed my friend Hyun." The whole Senate was in shock now. No one spoke. No one moved. They all watched as June got closer to the Emperor. "These are serious accusations," Emperor Taiho said. He tried to sound calm, but June could hear worry in his voice. "We will discuss them properly through official channels." "I tried official channels," June said. She was only 5 meters from him now. "My complaints disappeared, my evidence was deleted, and Hyun died for finding the truth." 2 more guards moved between June and the Emperor, but June was faster than they expected. She slipped between them before they could react. Now nothing stood between her and Emperor Taiho. "This human is clearly unstable," the Emperor said to the Senate. "Security will handle this problem." June reached into her pocket and pulled out the data chip Hyun had given her. She held it up for everyone to see. "This contains proof of all your crimes," she said. "Proof that you've been stealing from our system for years. Proof that you threatened our allies, and evidence that suggests you ordered Hyun's death." For a moment, fear showed in the Emperor's eyes. Then he reached for the chip, but June was too quick. She stepped forward inside his reach, and before anyone could stop her, she grabbed the Emperor's ceremonial collar. The collar was beautiful, made of precious metals and gems. All emperors of the Dominion had worn one like it for thousands of years. It was a symbol of their power and authority. And now a human was using it to pull the Emperor down to her level. "What are you doing?" Emperor Taiho gasped. He was surprised by her strength. He tried to pull away, but June held tight. With all her anger and all her strength, June pulled on the collar. The Emperor, off balance, stumbled forward. June stepped back, still pulling, and the Emperor fell to his knees. The Senate erupted in chaos. Hundreds of representatives jumped to their feet. Some shouted in anger, others watched in silent shock. Many recorded everything with their devices. June kept pulling. The Emperor, now on his hands and knees, was being dragged across the smooth floor of the Senate chamber. "Stop this at once," he shouted. But his voice no longer sounded powerful. Now he sounded afraid. June activated her communication device. Her voice would now be heard by everyone in the chamber and by millions watching across the galaxy. "I am June Lee of Earth," she said clearly, "and I bring charges against Emperor Taiho Kim of the Stellar Dominion." She continued to drag the Emperor across the floor. His guards were running toward them, but they were afraid to attack her directly. Hurting a diplomat in the Senate chamber was a serious crime. First charge: illegal mining in Earth's solar system, taking resources that belong to humanity. The Emperor tried to stand, but June pulled harder on the collar. He fell back to his knees. Second charge: threatening and pressuring allies of Earth to isolate us in the Senate. The guards were getting closer. June knew she had only seconds left. Third and most serious charge: the murder of diplomatic assistant Hyun Park, a citizen of Earth. The guards reached them now. They grabbed June's arms and pulled her away from the Emperor. She let go of the collar at last. Emperor Taiho stood up slowly. His perfect uniform was now wrinkled. His ceremonial collar hung crooked around his neck. His golden scales, usually so bright, seemed dull under the lights. For the first time in the history of the Galactic Senate, an emperor of the Stellar Dominion had been humiliated in front of everyone. "You will regret this," Emperor Taiho said, quietly to June as the guards held her. "Take this human to detention," he ordered loudly. "She has violated our most sacred rules and must be punished." As the guards led June away, she looked back at the Emperor once more. "The evidence is already spreading across the galaxy," she said. "Hyun made sure of that before he died. You can punish me, but you can't hide the truth anymore." The guards took June out of the chamber. The last thing she saw was Emperor Taiho standing alone in the center of the floor. He looked smaller somehow, less powerful than before. As June was led to her cell, news of what had happened was already traveling faster than light across the galaxy. On Earth and its colonies, humans were seeing the footage of June dragging the Emperor across the floor. A human had stood up to the most powerful being in the galaxy. A human had shown that even an emperor could be brought low, and the galaxy would never be the same again. June's cell was small but clean. She sat on the simple bed and looked at the white walls. It had been 30 days since she dragged Emperor Taiho across the Senate floor. 30 days since guards had brought her to this detention center. She did not regret what she had done. A small screen on the wall showed news from across the galaxy. Every day June watched reports about herself. Some called her a hero. Others called her dangerous. But everyone was talking about her. The human diplomat who challenged an emperor, one reporter said. The video has been viewed more times than any other recording in galactic history. June smiled a little at that. She hadn't planned to make history. She had just wanted justice for Hyun and for Earth. The door to her cell opened. A guard stood there. "You have a visitor," the guard said. June was surprised. She had not been allowed any visitors before now. The guard led her to a small room with a table and 2 chairs. Sitting in one chair was a tall alien with golden scales. For a moment, June thought it was Emperor Taeho, but this alien was younger. "Hello, Diplomat Lee," he said. "I am Doyen Kim, son of Emperor Taeho." June sat down across from him. She was careful not to show fear. "Have you come to threaten me?" Doyun shook his head. "No. I came to thank you." Now June was very surprised. "Thank me? For what?" "For doing what I should have done long ago." Doyun's yellow eyes looked sad. "My father has led our people down a dark path. He thinks power is the only thing that matters. He forgets that with power comes responsibility." June studied the young alien's face. He seemed honest, but she had learned to be careful. "Your actions were shocking," Doyen continued, "but they have started changes that were needed. Many in the Dominion are questioning my father's leadership now." "What will happen to me?" June asked. This was the question that had kept her awake for 30 nights. "My father wants you executed," Doyen said simply. "He says you insulted the honor of the Dominion and must pay with your life." June felt cold, but she kept her face calm. "And what do you say?" "I say that you showed great courage. You risked everything to stand up for what is right." Doyun leaned forward. "And I think you might have saved our civilization by doing so." Before June could ask what he meant, Doyun stood up. "I must go. But know this. You are not alone. Changes are coming." After he left, June returned to her cell with many questions. Why had the Emperor's son visited her? What changes was he talking about? Over the next few weeks, June watched the news with growing interest. 3 smaller worlds had left the Dominion's protection. They said they would rather be allies with Earth instead. The Senate was in chaos. Many representatives who had always supported the Emperor were now staying silent. Some were even speaking out against the illegal mining operations that June had exposed. On Earth, humans were preparing for possible war. The small fleet of Earth ships would not win against the Dominion's massive forces, but they would fight if they had to. 60 days after her arrest, June received another visitor. This time it was an alien she didn't know. He was short with blue skin and forearms. "I represent the Committee of Justice," he said. "We are reviewing your case." "I thought the Emperor decided my punishment," June said. The alien made a sound like quiet laughter. "Things have changed, Diplomat Lee. The Emperor's power is not what it was." He showed her reports on his tablet. The evidence June had gathered, along with what Hyun had hidden before his death, had spread across the galaxy. Many worlds were angry about the Dominion's actions. "What will happen now?" June asked. "The Senate will meet in 30 days to decide," the alien said. "Both your fate and perhaps the fate of the Dominion itself." After 90 days in her cell, June was taken back to the Senate chamber. It looked different now. Many seats that had belonged to Dominion allies were empty. Representatives from Earth's new allies sat closer to the center than before. Emperor Taeho entered with a smaller group than usual. He still looked powerful, but something had changed. He seemed less sure of himself, and walking beside him was his son Doyen. "This special session will now begin," announced the Senate leader. "We must decide 2 important matters. First, the punishment for Diplomat June Lee of Earth. Second, the claims against the Stellar Dominion for illegal activities." Emperor Taeho stepped forward to speak. "The human diplomat insulted our honor and broke our most sacred rules. She must be punished severely as an example to all." Many representatives nodded in agreement. June felt her hopes sink. Then, to everyone's surprise, Doyun stepped forward. "I wish to speak," he said. His father looked shocked. "This is not the time, my son." "It is exactly the time," Doyun said firmly. Then he turned to face the whole Senate. "For many generations my family has led the Dominion. We have brought order to the galaxy. But order without justice is just control." Doyun's voice grew stronger as he spoke. "My father has forgotten. This. The Senate chamber was completely silent. No one had ever heard a member of the royal family speak against the emperor. Diplomat Li did something shocking, Doyen continued. But she did it because all proper channels for justice had been blocked. She did it because my father's government had become corrupt. Emperor Taiho's face showed anger and surprise. How dare you speak this way? I am your father and your emperor. Yes, Doyen said, and according to our oldest laws, I can challenge you for leadership if I believe you have failed our people. Gasps filled the chamber. A challenge for leadership was very rare and always dangerous. Here? Now? Emperor Taiho seemed unable to believe what was happening. Here and now, Doyen confirmed. Before all the Senate as witnesses. The Senate leader looked nervous. This is highly unusual, but the Senate cannot interfere in Dominion leadership matters according to our treaties. Then we will proceed, Doyen said. He removed his formal outer robe. I challenge Emperor Taiho Kim for leadership of the Stellar Dominion, on the grounds that he has broken our most sacred laws of honor and justice. Emperor Taiho stared at his son for a long moment. Then he too removed his outer robe. I accept your challenge, though it brings me great sorrow to do so. June watched in amazement as father and son moved to the center of the chamber. The guards formed a circle around them. The challenge will now begin, announced an older Dominion official. It will end when one yields or can no longer continue. As the emperor and his son prepared to fight, June realized that everything had changed because of what she had done. By dragging an emperor across the Senate floor, she had started something much bigger than she ever imagined. And now, the future of the galaxy might depend on which of these two aliens would win this ancient ritual of combat. The Senate chamber was completely silent as Emperor Taiho and his son Doyen faced each other in the center circle. No one had expected this challenge. No one had ever seen a royal challenge in the Senate before. June watched from her place near the guards. This was not what she had planned when she dragged the emperor across this same floor 90 days ago. Begin, said the old Dominion official. Emperor Taiho moved first. He was older but very experienced. He stepped toward his son with practiced moves. Doyen was younger and faster, but he seemed hesitant to attack his father. You dishonor our family with this challenge, Emperor Taiho said as they circled each other. No, father. You dishonored us when you forgot our duty to be just and fair, Doyen replied. The emperor lunged forward. His hand struck Doyen's shoulder hard. Doyen stumbled back but stayed on his feet. The Dominion must be strong, the emperor said. The other species respect only power and fear. Doyen shook his head. That is the old way of thinking. It no longer works in this galaxy. Now Doyen moved quickly. He ducked under his father's arm and pushed him off balance. The emperor recovered fast and spun around. What would you do differently? The emperor asked. Treat them as equals? They are not our equals. The two continued to fight. Sometimes the emperor had the advantage. Other times Doyen seemed to be winning. The Senate watched in silence. This fight was about more than just leadership of the Dominion. It was about the future of the galaxy. After 20 minutes, both were breathing hard. The emperor had a cut above his eye. Doyen's arm was hurt, but neither would give up. The human showed more courage than most of our own people, Doyen said. She stood up for what was right even knowing she would be punished. The human is nothing, Emperor Taiho shouted. He attacked with new energy, pushing Doyen back. No, father. Humans are the future. They may be young in the galaxy, but they have strength we have forgotten. The strength to change when change is needed, the emperor laughed. Change? Our ways have kept us in power for thousands of years. Doyen stopped backing up. He stood tall and looked directly at his father. Yes, and now it is time for those ways to change. With speed that surprised everyone, Doyen moved forward. He didn't attack his father. Instead, he stepped close and spoke very quietly, so only the emperor could hear him. I know about the secret files, father. I know what you did to keep power, not just to Earth and not just to Hyun, the others you had removed over the years. The lies you told, all of it. The emperor's eyes widened in shock. How did you? I have been watching and learning for years, waiting for the right time. Now Doyen moved quickly. He used a fighting move that no one had seen before. It was not from their people's traditions. It was a human fighting style. The emperor fell hard to the floor. Before he could get up, Doyen placed his foot on his father's chest. "Do you yield?" Doyen asked. Emperor Taiho looked up at his son. For a long moment, no one in the Senate moved or spoke. Then, slowly, the emperor nodded. "I yield," he said quietly. Doyen removed his foot and helped his father stand. Then he turned to face the Senate. "According to our ancient laws, I am now Emperor of the Stellar Dominion." Doyen's voice was strong and clear. "And my first act is this. I pardon diplomat June Lee of Earth." June could hardly believe what she was hearing. The guards around her stepped back. "My second act is to order full repayment to Earth for all resources taken illegally from their system." Now many representatives were talking at once. Some sounded happy. Others sounded angry or confused. "And my third act," Doyen continued, raising his voice over the noise, "is to propose a new structure for the Galactic Senate. One where no single species has too much power. One based on respect instead of fear." As the Senate erupted in excited discussion, Doyen walked over to June. "You are free to return to your position," he said. "Thank you," June said. "But why? Why help me?" Doyen looked at his father, who stood to the side, looking defeated and old. "Because you showed me that one person with courage can change everything. I had known for years that my father's ways were wrong, but I was afraid to act. You were not afraid." "I was afraid," June admitted. "But I was more afraid of what would happen if no one stood up to him. Fear can make us act, or it can keep us from acting," Doyen said. "The difference is what we choose to do with our fear." Over the next few days, the Senate began the hard work of creating new rules. Doyen, now emperor, kept his promise to change how the Dominion worked with other species. Some of the old Dominion supporters refused to accept the changes, but many were relieved to find a new path forward. June was given a new position in the Senate. She would help create a special group to watch for abuses of power and to make sure all species, big or small, were treated fairly. 3 months after the challenge, June returned to Earth for the first time since she had dragged the Emperor across the Senate floor. She visited the memorial for Hyun that had been built in the Wayne capital city. His name was now famous across Earth and its colonies. "We did it, Hyun," she said quietly to the memorial. "You helped start a whole new chapter for humanity in the galaxy. I wish you could see it." That evening, June stood on a hill and looked up at the night sky. High above, ships from many different alien species were arriving for the first meeting of the new Galactic Alliance. It would replace the old Senate with a more fair system where even small worlds had a voice. Her communication device beeped. It was a message from Emperor Doyen. "The Alliance meeting begins tomorrow," the message said. "Your seat is ready, Ambassador Lee." June smiled. Ambassador was her new title. Earth now had a much more important place in galactic politics. All because she had been brave enough to break the rules when the rules were wrong. As stars filled the night sky, June thought about how much had changed because of one moment of courage. One human had dragged an emperor across the Senate floor, and the entire galaxy had changed forever. Some would say it was a small thing that led to big changes. But June knew the truth. There are no small acts of courage. Every time someone stands up for what is right, the universe takes notice, and sometimes it changes everything.